Hello. I've got all my protective gear on. Today in Spark, we're headed deep into the Old Testament. And sometimes the Old Testament, it can feel a bit weird and a bit strange, like you need all this special stuff to get there. But, get this off. But this week we're going to learn about a whole chunk of the Old Testament, and we're going to learn it. It's pretty cool, it's pretty exciting, and it's not too hard to read. In fact, this week, we're doing the whole Bible in Spark this term. We're doing 12 books of the Old Testament in one go. I'm dropping those on the floor. We're doing 12 books of the Old Testament all in one go. And here it is. Nathaniel has got 4 minutes for 12 books. Let's see how he goes.
Hello everyone. How's it going? I've loved stories ever since I was a young boy. I used to love reading the thickest books I could find because I thought they had the best stories. I also always loved learning about true stories and stuff that actually happened. Well, today we're going to be looking at books of the Bible that tell a true story. Today we are going to be looking at 12 books. I know this sounds like a lot, but hopefully I can explain why these books are important. The books we are going to be looking at are Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel, 1 and 2 Kings, 1 and 2 Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and our old friend Esther. Now the first thing to note about these books are that they all tell a narrative story. What is the story they tell? Well, Joshua picks up with the Israelites about to move in the Promised Land and tells about the battles that occurred. Judges talks about how God implemented judges to take care of the Israelite people. In the Samuels, the narrative takes a turn and the Israelite people wish for a king so they could be like all the other nations, even though God is their leader. Kings and Chronicles tells us the story of these kings and how many kings led Israel away from God and into worshipping idols. By this point, God decided to punish Israel by sending their enemies, the Assyrians and Babylonians, to invade them. Ezra and Nehemiah pick up many years later, with the Israelites returning to their home and trying to rebuild their homes and their temple. Esther tells the story of Esther, who is one of the Israelites and who manages to marry the Persian king and provide for the Israelites. You might remember it from a couple of terms ago. Wow, that really seems like a lot, but it can be summed up pretty easily. These books essentially tell us about the story of Israel and God. It tells us about God blessing Israel and Israel continually ignoring God and following other gods. It tells us that after continual rejection, God sends his chosen people into exile. But the important thing to note is, this is not the end of the story, not by a long shot. God still provided for his people after exile. He took care of Esther and the other exiles. At the end of these books, you might be wondering, what's going to happen next? Is God going to save his people? Well, I can tell you that God's plan was still in motion. God was going to send his son Jesus into the world and save everyone, not just the Israelites. Jesus becomes what Israel has wished for many years, a true king. Jesus had an amazing life, but I think that's a story for another day. Thank you.
What a whirlwind. 12 books of the Old Testament in 4 minutes. So remember from last week, we have our big Bible bookshelf here. And last week, we did the first 5 books. It was all the books about Israel becoming a nation and God's rules for how they were to live, books of law. And this week, what do we hear? All the books in the Old Testament which are Old Testament story. They tell the story of the nation of Israel. And so, where do we start? Yeah, Joshua, Judges, it's 12 of them, all in order. In fact, while I'm doing this, let's go and listen to it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
There's a big Bible story, God gets the glory. Gather up under Jesus the King. He is amazing, serving and saving. All the Bible stories lead to Him. Ayo, ayo, ay. God gets the glory, Jesus the King. Ayo, ayo, ay. All the Bible stories lead to Him. All the Bible stories lead to Him. There's a big Bible story, God gets the glory. Gather up under Jesus the King. He is amazing, serving and saving. All the Bible stories lead to Him. Ayo, ayo, ay. God gets the glory, Jesus the King. Ayo, ayo, ay. All the Bible stories lead to Him. Ayo, ayo, ay. God gets the glory, Jesus the King. Ayo, ayo, ay. All the Bible stories lead to Him. Hey! All the Bible stories lead to Him. Hey!
There's the last one on the bookshelf, Esther. I think some of you might remember that from Spark back in term 2. So our big Bible bookshelf is starting to fill out, isn't it? Look at this. We've got the books of the law. Now we've got the books which tell the story about the nation of Israel. And this is all building up to Jesus, the center of the Bible. And I want to remind you that we have our Bible reading challenge happening this term. There's two ways you can do it. First off, you get a copy of the Big Picture Story Bible and read through that. Fantastic kids Bible, tells you the story of the whole Bible in one go. If you can't get a copy of that, or if you think that's a bit too kiddie for you, there is the Bible reading challenge sheet, which we've sent out with the email. It takes you through the Old Testament and the New Testament with the whole Christmas story, every single bit, even the bits they don't always retell at Christmas time.
Hey everyone, welcome to Spark Craft. Today we're going to make some sea creatures out of egg cartons. So the things we're going to need are egg cartons, some normal paper, just some crepe paper or tissue paper, pencils or markers, anything that you can use to colour in your egg carton and decorate it. Some glue, I'm using PVA glue, and you'll need some scissors. Let's get started.
We're going to cut up our egg carton a bit. You might need to get an adult to help with this because you'll probably need to use some reasonably sharp scissors to do it. We're going to cut off some of these bottom sections so that it sits flat. This one's for my turtle. I coloured him in green a bit earlier. And this one is going to be for my fish, so it's red. Let's get started with the turtle then. So what you're going to need to do is we're going to make some feet for the turtle. So you can just make this with normal paper. I'll just show you how to draw the shape. So it's going to kind of look like a flipper. So it's going to look something like that. It doesn't have to be too exact. I've already drawn mine over here and I've coloured those in green. And then the other thing we're going to need is a triangle for the tails. I'm also going to make some eyes. I'm just going to draw 2 circles. I'm going to do maybe a black dot in the middle of those so they look like eyes. For the head of our turtle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make it out of some tissue paper. And then I'm going to scrunch it into a ball. I'm going to glue the head on, and then I'll glue the eyes onto the head, and then we'll glue its legs on. So you might want to glue it so that the paper goes inside, and then you can fold the leg out to be flat like that. So I've just realized that my turtle will swim in a circle if his legs go that way. So I'm going to flip these ones over, and I'm going to quickly color those in on the other side. So you'll need to have it look like that in the end. Next up, we're going to make a fish, and what I've got is some pink tissue paper, but you can use normal paper for this as well. Right, so I've got three squares, roughly squares. They don't have to be too exact. One is a little bit bigger than the other two because it's going to be the tail. So you just kind of pinch it at the middle, and then you kind of just scrunch it. So I've just added a little bit of glue in there, and I'm just gonna put the tail in and just kind of squeeze that a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing for the fins on the side. So we're going to do the same kind of eyes for our fish. And actually for the fish as well, I'm going to do a mouth. Great, so we've got our eyes and our mouth. And we're going to glue those on the front. Great, so there we have it. That's our fish done and our turtle as well. So have fun making those, guys, and have a good week.
So that's the end of Spark for this week. Don't forget there's the other videos which are coming out on Mondays. And we'll see you next week, or maybe if you tune in Monday afternoon, you might even see Eddie from church. See you then.